international seminar on the occasion of UN International Women's Day 2026. Today, on 8th March 2026, we gather to deliberate on theme rights, justice, action for all women and girls. This convention is being organized by International Council for Education, Research and Training to celebrate the strength, achievements, and aspirations of women across the globe, while also reaffirming our collective commitment to equality, empowerment, and inclusive progress. Our today's international seminar is part of UNESCO's movement towards education for sustainable development, education for health and well being, global citizenship education. Now, let me brief you about ICERT. International Council for Education, Research and Training is an autonomous, non government leading scientific and professional research training organization with offices located in Washington, D.C., California, Sydney, New Delhi, and many other countries. With several educators, researchers, consultants, and students as its members, ICAT not only develops educational training programs but also manages institutes and promotes research and training in education globally. This is an institution of learning and training, facilitating education, research, and social welfare initiatives with the motto knowledge, wisdom, and prosperity. We at ICRT are working with mission to promote advancement and application of scientific researches and knowledge to benefit society. Coming back to today's theme, she. She is a soul of storms. She is the freedom of wind. She is hotter than volcano. She is deeper than sea. She has the stars in her eyes. She has the moonlit in her smile. She has the lightning in her feet. She has the music in her feet. She has love in her heart. She has a magic in her hands. She dances to the breeze and she swirls to the emotions. She is the creator of creator. She is a woman. A very happy Women's Day to all the lovely women on this planet. Equality is the soul of liberty. There is, in fact, no liberty without it. Achieving gender equality requires engagement of women and men, boys and girls at every platform. It is everyone's responsibility. Your power is your radical self. Find it. We have begun to raise daughters more like our sons, but few have the courage to raise our sons more like our daughters. Today's theme rights, justice, action for all women and girls truly reflects the spirit of International Women's Day. It reminds that empowering women is not just about recognition of rights, but it is ensuring justice and translating commitments into meaningful actions. The objective of this convention is to provide a global platform for dialogues, ideas, and collaborative efforts to strengthen equality and opportunities for women and girls across societies. Today's convention is of 2 hours. I request you all to follow all the digital ethics and keep your mic off to create so that you cannot create unnecessary disturbance. And there is no attendance and feedback link for today. Those who will attend for at least 75% of the time duration will get the certificate and it will be issued in 10 to 15 days. And for forthcoming programs, you can visit our official website www.icrt.org.in. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Navneet Kaur Ma'am, Executive Director, Education, ICRT, Principal, Shri Ram Ashram Universal School, Ludhiana, CBSE Officer, and Master Trainer. Dr. Navneet Kaur Ma'am is an educator and leader with experience of more than 22 years in the field of education and more than 10 years in school administration and leadership. Participated in various workshops, seminars, conferences, FTPs, symposiums, and facilitated with several awards. She is also editorial board member of universities of 11 countries. She is a lady with the words of wisdom. I welcome our Executive Director of ICRT, Dr. Navneet Kaur, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaste. A heartfelt and purposeful UN International Women's Day 2026 to each one of you. What a beautiful start by Dr. Dilpreet Kaur. Respected Dr. A. Arvat Abital Dame, President and CEO, Educator Learning Solutions UK. Dr. Bukola Ihisi, Senior Lecturer, University of Lagos, Nigeria. Professor Dr. Shraddha Verma, Dean, Kalinga University, India, our esteemed moderator, Dr. Dilpreet Kaur, distinguished scholars and participants joining us from the United States, the United Kingdom, Nigeria, India, and across the world. And I extend my sincere appreciation to the leadership of ICERT under the visionary guidance of President Dr. Sandeep Sihag, whose commitment to educational transformation and global equity continues to inspire meaningful change. Good evening to India and good morning to our global colleagues. Today, we stand at a defining point in history as the world enters the second quarter of the 21st century, despite decades of policy reform and global commitments, no country has yet achieved full legal equity between men and women. According to global development reports, nearly 2.4 billion women worldwide still lack equal economic opportunity. Women hold less than one third of parliamentary seats globally. 1 in 3 women continues to experience some form of gender based violence in her lifetime. Millions of girls still faced barriers to secondary and higher education. These are not just statistics, they are lived realities. This is why the United Nations continues to call for structural reform through Sustainable Development Goal 5, gender equality. Recognizing that equality is not a peripheral issue, it is foundational to peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. Because when women are excluded, economies shrink. When girls are denied education, societies weaken. When justice systems fail women, democracy itself is compromised. ICERT aligns deeply with the global vision. We believe education must not merely inform minds, it must transform systems. Research must not remain in journals, it must influence policies. Dialogue must not be in discussions, it must translate into action. Allow me to share a brief story. A few years ago, I met this brilliant young girl during a school visit. She answered every question confidently. She led discussions. She displayed extraordinary potential. When I asked her what she wanted to become, she smiled, but her voice lowered. She said, Ma'am, I will try if my circumstances allow. That if has stayed with me, not because she lacked talent, not because she lacked dreams, but because she had already learned the language of limitation. And that is what we must dismantle. The silent if, the invisible ceiling, the inherited hesitation. When we speak today of rights, justice, action, we are speaking of removing that if from the vocabulary of every girl. Rights must guarantee access. Justice must guarantee protection. Action must guarantee opportunity. Gender equality is not about replacing one power structure with another. It is about restoring balance. It is about recognizing dignity. It is about ensuring that leadership, safety, opportunity, and voice are not determined by gender. These seminars bring together perspectives from different continents because inequality is global and so must be our solutions. We are not here only to acknowledge gaps, we are here to confront them. We are not here to celebrate only women. We are here to strengthen systems. We are not here only to speak, we are here to commit. As educators, researchers, and leaders, we carry a responsibility beyond applause. We carry the responsibility of influence. Ask yourself today, what policies can I advocate for? What systems can I challenge? What young girl can I mentor? What silence can I break? Because transformation does not begin in conferences, it begins in conviction. And when conviction meets courage, history shifts. Let this not be another commemorative event. Let this be a turning point. Let today mark not just a discussion on equality, but a renewed global commitment to measurable change. On behalf of ICERT, I welcome you with deep purpose and deep hope. Let us think boldly. Let us speak fearlessly. Let us ask decisively. And let the 21st century be remembered as the century that finally chose equality, not as an aspiration, but as a reality. Thank you, and let's begin. Over to Dilpreet.
Thank you, ma'am, for your beautiful, wise, and very inspiring words. I must say, you have opened the eyes of many with your inspiring story of that little young girl. Now, it is my great honor to introduce our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. A. Arvad Abdel Dam, an accomplished global leader, business strategist, and management advisor with over 4 decades of international experience across diverse sectors, including aviation, telecommunications, construction, manufacturing, and information technology. He currently serves as President and Business of Management Advisor at Dimensions Limited and is also co founder and CEO of Educators Learning Solution Limited UK. A recipient of honorary doctorate in business administration and fellow of several international leadership and management institutes, Dr. Dame is widely respected for his expertise in strategic leadership, digital transformation, and organizational development. We are truly privileged to have such a distinguished personality with us today. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. I would like first to say namaste to all our colleagues in India and a very early good morning to those joining from the United States. Distinguished colleagues, activists, and the leaders of tomorrow, we are not gathered here today to celebrate progress that is eventually coming. We are here because eventually is not a timeline that women and girls of this world can afford. We often speak of the glass ceiling in STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as if it were a natural phenomenon. It is not. It is an architectural choice. As we enter the second quarter of the 21st century, our task as scientists and researchers is no longer just to include women in existing systems, it is to re-engineer the systems themselves so that justice is a default setting, not a software patch. Our mission is no longer to argue for a seat at the table. It is to redesign the room itself. To justify why a scientist stands before you today, we must look at the legacies of those who proved that objective truth is the greatest ally of justice. I am reminded of Marie Curie, who did not just discover elements, she dismantled the scientific neutrality myth. She famously said, I quote, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." Unquote. In 2026, our fear is often hidden in biased data and closed algorithms. Like Curie, we must have the courage to understand and audit the very tools we build, ensuring they serve humanity rather than a privileged few. Similarly, we look to Katherine Johnson, the mathematician who propelled humanity to the moon. Her life was a battle against the prestige pipeline of her era. She was a human computer whose calculations were more trusted than the early digital ones. Yet, she had to fight for her name to be on the reports she authored. She proved that precision is a form of power. When we advocate for equal justice, we are advocating for a world where a woman's precision is never sidelined by her pedigree. These women didn't just participate in STEM, they redefined the boundaries of what was possible for all of us. Their struggle wasn't just about laboratory access, it was about the right to contribute to the future. Today, action means ensuring the next Curie or Johnson doesn't have to spend half her energy fighting the architecture of inequality just to do her work. Justice in STEM requires more than representation, it requires a structural audit. I propose three urgent actions for our community. The first one, algorithmic justice. We must ensure that the artificial intelligence and data models defining our future are not built on the biases of our past. If our data is prejudiced, our justice will be automated inequality. The second point, the prestige pipeline. We must move beyond mentoring to sponsoring. Don't just give advice, give the platform, the funding, and the lab space. We must actively disrupt the old boys networks that still gatekeep high level research. While mentorship builds confidence, sponsorship is what builds careers. The third point, decentralized innovation. Justice to all women means the girl in a rural village must have the same access to digital literacy and STEM tools as a student elsewhere. We must build the infrastructure for global open source equity. Finally, as researchers, we know that if a variable is missing from an equation, the result is failure. Women are not a variable to be added. They are the foundation of the solution. Let us move from the laboratory of ideas to the field of action. I am honored to participate in this international seminar. Thank you all. Dr. Dilpreet.
Yes, sir.
I'm over. It's up to you. Back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your enlightening and thought provoking address. Your valuable insights and perspectives have truly enriched our understanding of today's theme and have inspired us to reflect more deeply on the importance of rights and justice of women, and a meaningful action, that is the urgent need that you stressed upon, was truly essential element. We sincerely appreciate the time, knowledge, and experience that you have shared with us today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So now, moving to our keynote speaker of today, I would quickly invite her. It is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Bukola Ehmi, a distinguished academician and counseling expert from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. Dr. Ehmi is a PhD holder in guidance and counseling and currently serves as an associate professor, senior lecturer in the Department of Educational Foundations. With decades of experience in teaching, research, and professional counseling, her work focuses on psychosocial well being, youth and adolescent counseling, as well as community welfare. She is an also active member of several professional bodies, including Counseling Association of Nigeria, American Counseling Association, and British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy. We are truly honored to have such an accomplished scholar and practitioner deliver the keynote address for today. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, distinguished guests, colleagues, and participants from across the world. I sincerely appreciate the gracious invitation extended to me by the International Council of Education, Research and Training, ICERT, especially Professor Sandeep Kumar, President of ICERT, to serve as a keynote speaker at this global seminar commemorating the United Nations International Women's Day. It is truly an honor to join this important gathering focused on the 2026 theme, Equal Justice for All, Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls. I would like to share my slides which contain some key points to guide this keynote address. Today, I would like to approach this theme from the perspective of dismantling structural barriers and turning the rights of women and girls from promises into enforceable reality. At its core, this conversation is about moving beyond declarations and commitments. It's about ensuring that the rights of women and girls are not merely acknowledged, but are protected, implemented, and experienced in everyday life. Removing structural barriers is therefore essential. It requires deliberate policies, strong accountability systems, and effective institutions that guarantee equality, protection, and fair opportunities for every woman and girl. To understand where we are today, it is important to reflect briefly on the foundations of the global movement for human rights. As far back as 1948, after the Second World War, which claimed over 60 million lives, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, was adopted. This historic document established the principle that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Its 30 articles guaranteed fundamental freedoms and protections, including freedom from torture, slavery, and inhumane treatment. Over the decades, the Declaration has guided major human rights progress across the world, influencing labor protections, social justice movements, and international legal frameworks. Building on this foundation, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, adopted in 1979, reaffirmed that women and men are entitled to equal rights in political, economic, social, cultural, and civil life. Yet, despite these commitments, discrimination against women continues to limit their participation, development, and access to opportunities. Such discrimination not only violates human dignity, but also undermines social and economic progress. Recent global reports reveal both important achievements and persistent challenges. A 2025 United Nations Women's Report on Girl Goals, reviewing progress since the 1995 Beijing Conference, shows that while the child marriage and female genital mutilation have declined and access to education has improved, progress remains slow and uneven. Today, 122 million girls remain out of school worldwide. Nearly 1 in 5 girls marries before adulthood. 1 in 4 married or partnered adolescent girls experiences partner violence. Many girls in low-income countries still lack access to the internet, and 150 million girls live without equal inheritance rights. Furthermore, adolescent girls continue to fall behind boys in education, employment, and digital access. Globally, 650 million girls and women experienced sexual violence during childhood, and pregnancy-related complications remain a leading cause of death among girls aged 15 to 19. These realities highlight a clear message. Progress has been made, but it's not happening fast enough. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, its Development Assistance Committee, through its gender equality guidelines, has emphasized the need for stronger and more transformative action. This includes addressing the root causes of inequality, engaging men as partners in change, and expanding collaboration among governments, civil society, and the private sector. Similarly, the Global Gender Gap Index, launched in 2006, continues to track progress across 4 key areas: economic participation, education, health, and political empowerment. Yet, among the 100 countries monitored, none has achieved full gender parity. At the current rate, it could take 162 years to close the political empowerment gap and 135 years to close the economic participation gap. In Africa, 2024 studies evaluating progress towards Sustainable Development Goal 5 and Africa Agenda 2063 show that gender equality targets are unlikely to be achieved by the year 2030 without significant improvement in political representation, civic engagement, and access to services. Additionally, reports including the Gender Snapshot for Central Africa highlight how conflict, climate change, economic instability, and weak data systems continue to slow progress across many developing regions. Despite educational gains, women remain underrepresented in leadership positions and continue to face barriers to economic independence. When the United Nations Women marked its 15th anniversary in 2025, it acknowledged global progress, but also warned of troubling trends, such as growing backlash against women's rights, rising gender-based violence, widening digital divides, and the fact that over 600 million women and girls now live near conflict zones. For this reason, global strategies between 2022 and 2026 have increasingly focused on shifting from policy promises to enforceable rights. Key priorities include removing male-dominated legal barriers, promoting women's economic empowerment, strengthening institutional accountability, and using technology to address gender-based violence. Importantly, responses to gender-based violence must evolve from reactive interventions to preventive and survivor-centered approaches. While many countries have enacted gender equality laws, enforcement remains a major challenge. Data from the United Nations Women and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, show that workplace discrimination persists, with many countries still failing to prohibit biased performance evaluations or discriminatory demotions. Similarly, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, has highlighted the continued underrepresentation of women within criminal justice systems, emphasizing the need for reforms that ensure laws are implemented effectively rather than remaining symbolic. Efforts to turn commitments into reality must therefore adopt intersectional approaches that address overlapping inequalities related to age, ethnicity, disability, and socioeconomic status. Even in the digital age, inequalities persist. In 2024, it was discovered that there were 277 million more men online than women, limiting women's access to economic opportunities and digital participation. Recognizing these challenges, international institutions are intensifying their efforts. Under the 2026 International Women's Day theme, Rights, Justice, Action for All Women and Girls, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, will convene global leaders and member states to accelerate progress on gender equality. Through its global priority on gender equality, UNESCO works with governments and partners to expand girls' access to quality education, protect women's rights, combat gender-based violence, promote ethical and inclusive technology, and strengthen coordinated action to address persistent inequalities. Today's seminar reflects these global priorities by emphasizing the need for justice systems that are inclusive, equitable, and responsive. The struggle for women's rights has always been about more than legal recognition. It is about ensuring that rights are implemented, protected, and sustained in everyday life. Even where legislation exists, deeply rooted social norms and cultural practices often reinforce inequality. For this reason, lasting progress requires comprehensive and multidimensional approaches. Political participation provides a powerful example. Evidence shows that countries that adopt gender quotas have significantly increased women's representation in leadership and decision-making roles. Yet, global commitments alone are not enough. The real challenge lies in implementation, monitoring, and accountability. The message of International Women's Day 2026, therefore, calls on all of us to move beyond rhetoric and translate commitments into meaningful action. Protecting women's rights, pursuing justice, and taking decisive action will ensure that every woman and girl has the opportunity to actually learn, lead, and live free from discrimination. As we conclude, it's important to remember that discrimination does not only limit opportunities, it also affects mental health and overall well-being of all concerned. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals recognize this connection. Sustainable Development Goal 3 promotes good health and well-being, including mental health, while Sustainable Development Goal 5 focuses on gender equality and addresses underlying issues such as violence and economic inequality. When the rights of women and girls are genuinely upheld and enforced, they gain the ability to live with dignity, security, and opportunity. Such progress strengthens not only gender equality, but also the mental health and well-being of women and girls by reducing fear, stress, and exclusion, while fostering confidence, stability, and belonging within society. Ultimately, dismantling structural barriers and transforming commitments into enforceable realities will ensure that the principles of rights, justice, and action truly serve all women and girls everywhere. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for wonderful and insightful presentation. The areas that you touched, sustainability, mental health, prioritization, were excellent. Your inspiring words and valuable perspectives have added a great depth to today's discussion and has truly motivated us to think, reflect, and act towards empowering women and girls. Now, it is my privilege to introduce our next distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Shraddha Verma, a highly accomplished academician and researcher in the field of education. She holds a PhD in education and has more than 22 years of rich teaching and research experience. Dr. Verma is recognized research guide and has authored several textbooks, edited books, and numerous research publications in national and international journals. She has also been honored with prestigious recognitions such as Innovative Educationist Award, Academic Excellence Award, and C.G. Mahatri Award for her remarkable contributions to education. We are truly delighted to have such a distinguished scholar with us today to share her valuable insights. We welcome you on the dice, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I would start with a Sanskrit shlok today. Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devtaha. Yatrastu na pujyante sarvastrafala kriya. Where women are honored, divinity blossoms. But where they are dishonored, even the most sacred rituals remain fruitless. Namaskar, respected organizers, distinguished scholars, tireless activists, and the global heartbeat of change makers joining us today. A very warm greeting to everyone present. It is a profound privilege and a distinct honor for me to address this distinguished gathering. Organized by the International Council of Education, Research and Training as we commemorate International Women's Day. We gather today not merely to observe a date on the calendar, but to honor a movement that has redefined the human story. International Women's Day is a bridge built from the sacrifices of our mothers and reaching towards the soaring aspiration of our daughters. It is a day to celebrate the distance we have traveled, but more importantly, it is a sobering reminder of the journey that still lies ahead. It reminds us of the raw courage of women who challenged centuries of injustice, the voices that demanded equality when it was dangerous to speak, and the heavy sacred responsibility we carry today to build a world that is not just better, but truly just and inclusive. The theme of today's seminar, and that is rights, justice, action for all women and girls, is not mere suggestion for a brochure. It is a demand, it is a roadmap. We often treat rights, justice, and action as three separate pillars. But in the life of a woman, they are an unbreakable chain. A right without justice is a hollow promise, and justice without action is a delayed dream. So, across the globe, societies have paid lip service to equality. Constitutions guarantee equal rights. International declarations emphasize human dignity, and governments introduce endless policies. Yet we see the stinging contradiction every day. In many parts of the world, a girl still has to risk her life to carry a school bag. A woman still has to work twice as hard to prove her competence in spaces where men are automatically trusted. Justice for gender discrimination is too often delayed, diluted, and denied entirely. So, this compels us to ask a hard question, the uncomfortable question. If equality exists in our law books, why does it still struggle to breathe in our streets, our boardrooms, and our homes? Why does inequality persist in life when it has been defeated on papers? The former United Nations Secretary, General Kofi Annan, he once said, there is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. Today, we take that further. Empowering women is not a soft social issue. It is not a gesture of charity. It is a developmental necessity, an economic imperative, and above all, a moral obligation that we can no longer afford to ignore. Today, we moved beyond the celebration. Today, we begin the work of making the law live. The journey towards women's rights has been one of the most transformative sagas in human history. Across every continent and through every culture, women have challenged the archaic system that sought to limit their access to education, employment, and the corridors of power. Today, we live the fruits of that defiance. Women are scientists, entrepreneurs, innovators, educators, and heads of state. They are no longer just participants in the story of humanity. They are its lead architects, shaping the very future of our global society. However, we must have the courage to admit that despite this remarkable progress, the journey remains incomplete. We often speak of the glass ceiling, that transparent yet seemingly unbreakable barrier that prevents even the most qualified woman from reaching the highest summits of leadership. But today, I want to draw your attention to a more insidious reality. For millions of women and girls across the globe, the problem is not the ceiling, it is the sticky floor. The sticky floor represents the structural traps that keeps women mired in poverty and social exclusion before they can even begin to dream of the boardroom. It is the crushing weight of unpaid domestic labor. It is the lack of basic sanitation and healthcare. It is a cultural whisper that tell a girl her only destiny is to serve, never to lead. So global progress is undeniable, yet it is tragically uneven. We live in a world of staggering contrasts. We see one woman leading a Fortune 500 company, while another is denied the right to own the very land she has tilled with her own hands for decades. We see girl coding the next generation of software, while another is forced to drop out of school the moment she reaches puberty because her dignity is not protected. We see legal frameworks that grant equality on paper, yet we witness a wage trap that persists across every industry, reminding us the legal equality alone cannot guarantee real equality. As the great Nelson Mandela once said, that freedom cannot be achieved unless women have been emancipated from all forms of oppression. He later reminded us that freedom is not merely the act of casting off one's own chains, but living in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Rights may be universal in our declarations, but access is not until every girl, regardless of her geography or her social standing, is free to choose her own path and walk it without fear, none of us can claim to be truly free. We must commit ourselves to cleaning the sticky floor just as vigorously as we strive to shatter the glass ceiling. I speak to you today representing India, Bharat, a nation that is not just a country, but a civilization that has for millennia recognized the feminine as the ultimate source of Shakti, the primordial energy of the universe, the foundation head of knowledge, and embodiment of courage. From our ancient philosophical traditions to our modern domestic institutions, women have not just participated in our story, they have shaped the very social and cultural identity of our nation. Today, India is proving to the world that tradition and modernity do not have to be at odds. Instead, they have merged to create a landscape of profound empowerment. In contemporary India, we see women breaking barriers in every conceivable field, from the silent laboratories of space science to the high stakes arenas of global entrepreneurship, from the grassroots of local governance to the pinnacle of public administration. A particularly radiant example of this is the fact that India is currently led by a woman as our head of state, Her Excellency Draupadi Murmu, the President of India, stands as a living testament to the power of inclusive democracy. Her journey from a humble tribal community to the highest constitutional office in the land is more than just a political milestone. It is a psychological revolution. Her presence in the Rashtrapati Bhavan sends a thunderous message to every tribal girl, every rural student, and every marginalized woman that her origin does not define her destination. It tells every girl that in a true democracy, her aspirations have no ceiling. Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, the concept of Nari Shakti has been moved from the periphery of social discourse to the absolute center of national policy. We are witnessing a historical paradigm shift. We are moving beyond women development to women led development. This shift is anchored in action. Though through the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign, we are not just building schools, we are re engineering the mindset of a nation, insisting that a daughter is a pride, not a burden. Through massive strides in financial inclusion, we are putting economic tools directly into the hands of women, understanding that financial independence is the bedrock of dignity. And with the historic Women's Reservation Initiative, India has taken a giant leap towards ensuring that are not just the subjects of the law, but the matters of the law. India is whispering, no, no. India is declaring to the global community, if you want to transform a nation, you must invest in its women. These developments prove that meaningful progress is a three-legged stool. It requires unwavering political commitment, deep rooted social awareness, and a sense of collective responsibility from every citizen. Sorry. Though statistics can inform us and policies can guide us, but it is stories that move us. So, to understand why we are here today, we must look at the multiplier effect. How one woman's breakthrough creates a ripple effect that touches thousands. So, allow me to share two or three stories that illustrate the soul of our movement. So, to start with, I once met a young girl in a rural school during an academic outreach program, and she lived in a marginalized community where educational opportunities was not given but a luxury. So she shared a single pencil with three siblings, yet she was the first to arrive and the last to leave. When I asked her why she studied so hard, she did not talk about grades. She said, a book is the only door out of this village that I can open myself. I want to become a teacher so that other girls do not have to stop studying like my sister did. She did not want charity, she wanted a key. She understood that education is not just about knowledge, it is about the confidence to own your future. As the young activist Malala Yousafzai famously said, I raise up my voice not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. That is the power of a right. It turns a victim of circumstances into a victor of change. Now transitions from that rural school to the high pressure environment of a modern boardroom. A young professional once described to me her experience of being the only woman in the room. For decades, women in her position were expected to blend in, to stay quiet, to play by the existing rules. Initially, she hesitated to speak, fearing her perspective wouldn't be valued. But when she finally shared her insights, she highlighted a flaw in a corporate policy that every man in the room had overlooked. A policy that was unintentionally disadvantaging every female employee in the firm. Her voice led to a total revision of company's culture. Today's woman knows that her value lies not in fitting in, but in her difference. What she speaks, she represents the 50% of the world's talent that has been ignored for too long. As the distinguished jurist Ruth Bader said, women belong in all places where decisions are being made. That is the essence of justice. It is the presence of diverse voices in the rooms of power. Finally, let us look at a woman in a small town who refused to accept the word no. Her community believed higher education and business were unnecessary for girls. So she ignored the whispers and used a tiny micro loan to buy a single sewing machine. She traveled long distances daily to learn her craft and then returned home. She did not wait for a government policy to save her. She created an economy. Today, she is an educator and an entrepreneur who employs 20 other women from her village and mentor dozens of young girls who aspire to lead. Her journey demonstrates a powerful truth. One empowered woman can transform entire community. She did not just take action, she became the catalyst for action. This is the fire we must ignite everywhere. As an educator, I stand before you with a firm, unshakable conviction that education is the most powerful pathway towards gender justice. It is the forge where we shape not only knowledge but the very values and perspectives that define our civilization. Our schools and universities must be more than just building of institutions. They must be laboratories of equality, critical thinking, and social responsibility. As teachers and mentors, we play a vital role in encouraging a girl not just to read, but to speak confidently, to pursue leadership without apology, and to challenge discrimination wherever she sees it. Former First Lady Michelle Obama once emphasized that educating women is the most powerful investment our society can make. She was right. When women are educated, families become healthier, economies grow stronger, and societies become more inclusive. However, we must be honest with ourselves today. Recognizing right is only the first step. A right acknowledged but not enforced is a tragedy. Real transformation occurs only when societies move from rights to action. We are done with awareness campaigns that lead nowhere. We are ready for accountability. So, action in the truest sense means three negotiable things, three non negotiable things. First, dismantling unconscious bias. We must change the vocabulary of our culture. We must stop asking professional women how they balance it all unless we are prepared to ask men the same question. True justice means dismantling the cultural stereotypes and institutional biases that suggest a woman's ambition is secondary to her domesticity. Secondly, economic parity and closing the gap. We must confront the fact that the global gender pay gap still stands at a staggering 20%. Let us be clear, equal pay is not a gift, it is not a bonus or a favor. It is a debt owed to women for their labor, their intellect, and their grit. Action means ensuring that the sticky floor is scrubbed clean and the glass ceiling is permanently shattered by economic independence. Third is institutional integrity and safety. We must ensure that our schools, our streets, and our workplaces are not just open to women, but fundamentally safe for them. Institutional integrity means creating systems where justice for gender discrimination is swift, transparent, and accessible to every woman, regardless of her background or her bank account. So Michelle Obama said there is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. Yes, but to that I would add a challenge to the word. There is no limit to what humanity can accomplish when we finally stop holding women back. Gender equality cannot be achieved through policy alone. It requires a collective commitment where men stand as allies, where institutions operate with transparency, and where justice is a lived reality, not a distant aspiration. To the youth here today, I look at you and I see a potential that is unprecedented in human history. You are not just the leaders of tomorrow, you are the disruptors of today. You are more connected, more informed, and more determined to challenge inequality that any generation that has come before you. So you possess tools your grandmothers never could have imagined: a global voice, the power of instant connection, and a fearless refusal to accept no for an answer. So education institutions must do more than just grant you degrees. We must empower you with empathy and leadership skills to navigate a world that is still finding its moral compass. As Mahatma Gandhi wisely said, the future depends on what we do in the present. So, as we reflect on our theme, rights, justice, and action, we must anchor ourselves in one fundamental truth. That is, gender equality is not a woman's issue, it is a human issue. It is a societal issue. It is a development imperative. When we deny a girl an education, we are not just failing her, we are failing the future scientist who might have cured a disease, the diplomat who might have stopped a war, and the mother who could would have raised the next generation of thinkers. A society that denies justice to women is a society that denies progress to itself. But a society that empowers women strengthens its institutions, supercharges its economy, and secures its future. Therefore, let us leave this seminar today not just with a certificate or a set of notes, but with a sacred commitment. Commit to being the voice for the girl who is still silenced by tradition or fear. Commit to being the hand that reaches down to pull another woman up the ladder of opportunity. Commit to building a world where the phrase, the first woman to, finally becomes a relic of the past. Because women will be everywhere, in every field, and at every level. Let us ensure the rights do not remain empty promises written in fading ink. Let us ensure that justice is not a luxury for the privileged, but a shield for the many. And let us ensure that equality becomes a lived, breathing reality for every woman and every girl on this planet. Let us build a world where every girl can learn, where every woman can lead, and every individual, regardless of gender, can live with dignity. They were born with. On this International Women's Day, let us renew our vow, not just to discuss equality, but to deliver justice and take decisions or decisive actions. We must build an architecture of equality so strong, so deep, and so resilient that no force on earth can ever tear it down. Because when women rise, the world rises. When women lead, the world follows. And when women succeed, humanity wins. That's all from my side. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Many thanks, ma'am, for this engaging and enriching address. Your perspectives have certainly given us much to reflect upon and have added immense value to today's session. The key issues that you touched today were amazing, like cultural disparities. The sticky floor concept, apart from the glass ceilings, was really, we were not aware about that. Economic independence, institutional integrity, and safety, all the topics were great, ma'am, that you touched today. We truly appreciate your contribution and the inspiration that you have shared with all of us. Many regards, ma'am. So, according to me, a woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. There's something so special about a woman who a makes a mark in a man's world. It takes a certain grace, strength, intelligence, and fearlessness, and a nerve to never take no for an answer when the question is about her justice and her rights. And the key for that, according to me, is investment. Investment in her education, in her healthcare, in economic opportunities, in political participation that yields exponential returns not only for women but for entire community and nations. And empowered women are a real catalyst, a change that can derive innovation and progress. Their leadership, their resilience, and determination can literally change the mental makeup of our society. And that is, according to me, the need of our. So, with that positive note today, I am going to open this house for an interactive discussion and open dialogue. All the participants today are welcome to raise their queries, to ask their questions from our dignitaries and respective resource persons. You can write your question in the chat box so that I can read and the resource persons can give you reflections upon that. So, all are welcome to raise questions and queries and write their reflections in the chat box. Please write your questions in the chat box. There was one question that I saw was already written in the chat box. I would like to start with that. This is a question by Zakaria Mohammed. He's asking how communities help in addressing the problem of violence against women. Also, in what ways can society help to promote and improve the education of girls and women? Furthermore, what can be done to reduce the death of women during childbirth, especially in Africa? I would request my resource persons of the day to give it a reflection upon, please.
Can I respond to that, please?
Yes, yes, sure, ma'am. Bukola, ma'am, please answer.
Well, it will take educating everyone from the grassroots, educating people on the importance of good health care. It's not something that can be done overnight. We have been on it, we are still on it, and we'll continue to talk about it. Educating people across all culture, across all towns and villages on the importance of accessing good health care. That will go a long way in reducing maternal deaths. And then for the culture, those cultural values that are not beneficial, it's high time we start seeing how we can move a bit. I'm not saying we should forget our culture, no. For those cultural values that may not be beneficial to us, we can start trying to see how we can reform them, modify them in order to have some benefits from those values. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Please keep writing your questions and queries in the chat box. I'll take them one by one. Next question is from Malik Rathod, sir. He's asking, as a male faculty member in college, sometimes female students behave like overreaction. How can he react in front of class where students are also there? Shraddha ma'am, can you please reflect upon this?
Actually, the question is not clear to me what actually he wants
I,
to ask.
I'm repeating, ma'am. As a male faculty member in college, sometimes female student behaves as if overreaction. How can he react in front of class and in the front of students?
I think as a teacher, he's a role model. So he should have that much of preparation of handling all situations in a balanced way. Overreaction is something related to emotional imbalance also. So we have to give that confidence to the student to uh, make up their mind, balance their emotions, handle the situation tactfully, and no, don't be over expressive at a wrong place. You should have control on emotions. The first thing that everyone should learn today is to have control on their emotions. Neither they should be over expressive, not under expressive. They should have that mental balance of explaining themselves or expressing themselves in a right way at the right time. That's all I can suggest.
So I'll add in this a wonderful suggestion by Dr. Shraddha. So in such situations, the male security staff must remain completely calm, first thing, and professional. He should
Yes.
avoid confrontation, raised voice, or emotional reaction, especially in front of other students. If a female student overacts, the appropriate response is to de-escalate. For example,
Yes.
he can say, "Let us discuss this respectfully," or "Please allow me to call a faculty member to assist." It is always advisable to involve a female faculty member or administrator immediately to ensure transparency and comfort. The focus must be on maintaining safety and dignity, not providing authority.
Yeah, I'll add to this that the faculty should behave like a role model. That's the main issue. How can a student approach you in that manner? There is a fine line between a friend and a teacher.
Yes.
We always get confused with that key. We should be friendly with our students, but a teacher is always a teacher and a parent is always a parent. We can't be friends with our students, our
Very
kids. So we should maintain that line. We should not let them cross those lines, and neither should we as teacher cross those lines. So don't give them that opportunity also to how to express themselves in a negative manner, in a wrong way. They should have that respect always in their eyes for their gurus, their teachers. It should be there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So now I would like to take another question from Nidhi Meshuram. She's asking, how has the concept of women's empowerment changed in 21st century? I would like to invite Arvad Abdul Dem sir to reflect upon this. Dem sir, are you there with us?
Yes. The
Uh,
question was about how did the empowerment of women change in the
yes, 21st century.
yeah. Well, I feel there is more acknowledgement of this challenge Not that we always found the full solution, but there is more acknowledgement. And I think the key is for, as my colleagues have mentioned, the key is to have women and girls acquire more knowledge because that's the power. Uh, I think the educational system has involved more girls into the education, which should result, and we have seen it result in more empowered women, but still very lacking in percentage, obviously. So, in brief, we need to focus on the education of women, because that's the key to all the succession for events, that meaning empowerment, finding jobs, taking their role in society, in politics, in economics, in all of it. Education, I always believe, is the starting point, and it has improved in the 20th century, but not to the level that we would like. It didn't reach the equality stage yet. You know, I'm always puzzled that people don't realize that women are our mothers. They are the main school for culture and values. And so they are entrusted with raising and educating the new generation, but not entrusted with managing it afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'll
so
add
much.
in this. Thank you, Nidhi, for this wonderful question and the explanation by Dr. Arwat. So, in the 21st century, women's empowerment has shifted from being only about access to being about agency and leadership, as told by all the speakers. Earlier, the focus was on basic rights, education, voting, legal recognition. Today, empowerment includes decision making power, financial independence, digital inclusion, and representation of leadership. For example, if it is not enough that girls attend schools, the question is, are they entering STEM fields? Are they leading institutions? Are they influencing policy? So the 21st century has moved the conversation from the participation to power. Empowerment today means not just being present, but being influential. Yeah, we can take next question.
Very
Thank
well
you.
said, ma'am. Thank you, Damsir. Now I would like to take another question. The question is from Dr. Ambika Datta. She is asking that in the era of digital capitalism, how are we going to relate it to distributive justice when it comes to gender disparity in relation to digital divide? I would request my resource persons of the day to reflect upon this.
I'll take this.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ambika Datta, for raising a critical issue. So, in the era of digital capitalism, access to technology is directly linked to economic opportunity. When women lack digital access, whether devices, internet connectivity, as you have seen when I was speaking, the light went out, so or digital literacy, they are excluded from markets, information, and decision making spaces. Distributive justice means ensuring fair distribution of resources. And today, digital access is a resource. For example, in many developing regions, men are significantly more likely to own smartphones than women. The digital gap directly affects women ability to access online education, financial services, and employment platforms. So the solution lies in three areas: digital infrastructure investment, gender focused digital literacy programs, and policy frameworks that prioritize women's access to technology. Because in a digital economy, exclusion from technology is exclusion from power.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to take next question from Abdul Hakim. He is asking what are the methods that can be used to further make girls to develop more interest in STEM education.
Can I take the answer? Can I give the
Yes,
answer?
yes, yes,
Can
ma'am.
I take
Sure,
the
please.
question? Okay.
Please.
So what other methods can be used to further make girls to develop more interest in STEM education? First, we should anything which is need to be made more interesting. Uh, it totally depends on the method, how the process, how you are making to going, making that thing work. So all the hard work is from the teacher's side. I'm completely towards the student. For me, there are no bad students, but there is always a bad teacher. So if you want to make your students do something in a proper way, create some interest or do anything, the whole responsibility comes to the teacher's shoulders. It is your duty to select some method, some interesting way to make it more feasible for that student. He should have that inclination that I should go and learn. A science student should also have interest in commerce. A commerce student should also have interest in arts. That kind of atmosphere should be there in an institution. It is not that a science will go for science I am not into this. I'm more towards the method of teaching is the whole sole responsibility of the teacher. The better the teacher teaches, automatically there is pin drop silence in the class. The class is in full control and it is overcrowded. It is my personal experience. And the moment the teacher is a bit what I say lenient or something like that, I can't use the actual word here. The classes are empty, the attendance, the dropouts, and all those things comes as consequences of the wrong method adopted by a teacher. So it is the whole sole responsibility of the teacher to find out an appropriate method, as each one of us know about individual difference. Each one of us are special somewhere. We have some qualities somewhere. So I and my qualities are totally different with other one. So the teacher's responsibility is to find
Mm,
that one method which
mm,
works for all in your class and to create interest. And to girls also make them empower them to raise their voice. uh, Raising the voice just don't means you have to fight out. There is a tone make that makes a difference. So very politely you can say a lot many things, and very loudly you can just uh, be very wrong also. So that's the tone how you present your things. So don't wait for anyone's approval. If you are accepting that, if you have justification for what you are doing, go for it.
okay.
So I'll conclude in this way. To increase
I
girls' interest in STEM, we must start early with exposure and encouragement. Girls need visible role models in science, technology, in every subject so that they can see themselves in those careers. We should also make STEM practical and purpose driven, linking it to the real world issues like healthcare, climate change, and innovation. So, most importantly, mentorship builds confidence. Many girls have ability, but they need reassurance that they belong because interest grows when belief grows. So, role modelship is really something very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you so
may
much,
I
ma'am.
may I add a point,
Yeah,
please?
sure, sir, please.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to cover another angle of the subject. You know, when I was young, every young person tries to think what they want to specialize in. What do they want to study? Uh, there are two things. First, my father used who was in education, used the hobbies part. We were exposed to so many hobbies so that we find ourselves what we want, and I ended up in electronics. Uh, Competences are important to be identified. I believe that a person should study and work in what they will succeed in based on their competencies.
Yes.
I am working on a system to help people identify their competencies and what's the best field of work they will succeed in, because otherwise they are tempted by doctors, engineers, their neighbor, their uncle, and so on. So I'm trying to say it's important that people specialize in what they will make them succeed, not just what. Of course, it is better if it's in demand, but to fulfill yourself, it's better to specialize in something that matches your competences. Thank
Very
you.
true. Very true.
Please,
Thank
can
you
I
so
add a
much.
point to that?
Sure, sure.
It's has you can simplify the teaching of sciences, the STEM. Simplify using, I have a lecturer in my university, she teaches chemistry using things from the kitchen, the household, things around, and she simplifies it in such a way that it becomes interesting to her students. And for the girls to have a voice, they need to be assertive. We teach assertiveness, not being rude, not being overly aggressive. But when they say no to certain things, they should be able to maintain their stand, not necessarily being too loud or trying to fight their way through, just insisting that this is what I want and this is what I'm interested in, and trying to match their interests with their competencies, as the last speaker has said. Thank you.
I totally agree with Dr. Arwood and Bukola. I remember once last month I was taking a round in the school and I went to my STEM lab and class 4th students were there and they were doing something in the medical aspect. So one child, he just told me, ma'am, can I test your blood group, like your sugar? I said, okay, fine. So he said, okay, ma'am. So fourth class child pinned here and he just took the things and he said, ma'am, it is 140 at the time. Are you fasting? I said, no, I have just eaten everything. He said, it's normal. So see class 4 child just testing your sugar. And what will be his vision? That is what Dr. Adward had said. The competency is something, if you are realizing it, you're living it, you can have a vision. You will be able to find out how STEM is going to help you in your future career. So this is such a wonderful, beautiful, I should say STEM is, we are changing the STEM now to STEAM. So it's coming, the other E is entrepreneur skills. So we want, along with all those STEM qualities, child should be able to understand what is business, what is entrepreneurship skills, because he is going to learn all this once he's going to close his college and moves to university and moves to real world. Thank you so much. We'll take next question.
Thank you so much, Navneet ma'am, Dem sir, Shraddha Verma sir, and Bukola ma'am. We have got really expert deliberations upon this. And now I'll move to a completely different perspective with a question from Olubenga Aina. She is asking about cultural restrictions often prevent women from reporting violence against them. How do we encourage women to report such issues in the face of cultural restrictions? I would also like to combine a question from Neetu Rani because she is also asking about how can an educated wife handle his violent husband. So both the questions are about violence and handling them and reporting them. So I would like our resource persons of today to reflect upon this.
So thank you for both the important questions. I think my co-resource persons will continue with this. So let me start. Cultural restrictions often silence women not because they lack awareness, but because they fear stigma, retaliation, or social isolation. So the first step is creating safe and confidential reporting mechanism. Helplines, women's cell, community support groups, and legal aid services. Second, community awareness must involve both men and women. In many regions, when religious leaders, teachers, and local influencers openly condemn violence, reporting increase. So, regarding how an educated woman can handle a violent husband, education gives awareness, but safety must come first. She should document incidents, seek legal advice, approach women's protection cells or trusted family or institutional authorities. Silence protect the abuser, not the victim. So violence is not a private matter, it is a violation of rights. The real solution lies in shifting culture from protecting reputation to protecting women. I would like my co-speakers to add on this.
I think one of the things you've mentioned is important. Acting alone creates fear and fear of retaliation. So I think that building groups uh, makes the cause more supported and decreases the fear. The more we have groups, and groups create more, it gets enlarged on its own very fast. More supporters join because they were lacking a voice.
Yes.
So I think, especially if the administration is not supporting that, groups can create the realization of the issues and push for their solution. Thank you.
Very true, because empowerment is not complete until safety is guaranteed. So that is also very, very important. Thank you, sir.
Can I add to that, please?
Yes,
Sometimes the
please.
women are afraid. They are afraid, especially when they have children. They don't want to report cases of violence because they're afraid that, because they've not been empowered to take care of their children. So really, there are support groups, there are non-governmental organizations. Is for these support groups and non-governmental organizations to assist those women, encourage the women to speak out. Because if they don't report, these organizations, these support groups cannot even assist them.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would also like to add a question here from Madhurai Koshik. She's also asking about how to overcome these deep rooted patriarchy and cultural biases that lead to discrimination against women. So, that is a related question, I think. Shraddha, ma'am, can you please reflect on this?
I think if
How
they are
to
aware of their
overcome deep rooted patriarchy and cultural biases that lead to discrimination against women.
I think the simple answer to that question is education. Just be aware of your rights, responsibilities, your duties, so that you are not dependent on others. You are aware that you are being discriminated. This is also a major question. You don't realize what injustice is going to you. Unless you identify a problem, you can't find a solution for that problem. So you should be aware that you are going through this discrimination. That is also important. So education makes you more confident, more independent, more aware, and many such issues can be very uh, intelligently and diplomatically can be handled as of my views.
Yeah, I'll
Really
add
well,
in this.
really well.
So cultural biases often operate subtly through expectations about leadership, mobility, expectations like inheritance or decision-making roles. So these biases may not always be written in law, but they influence opportunity. For example, in many societies, families may invest more in sons' higher education than daughters, not because of ability, but because of inherited assumptions about roles. So, over time, these creates economic and leadership gaps. Addressing cultural biases require three steps. First, ma'am has already told education. I'll take up as reshaping my mindsets from early childhood. Then comes awareness, naming the bias, And then comes representation, increasing women's visibility in leadership. So culture is dynamic. What was once accepted can be redefined because tradition should transmit values, not transmit inequality. So bias survives in silence, but it weakens the awareness. So we must be aware of handling these kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next question I would like to take from Adeyemi Ajao. He's asking that many cultures are still engrossed in dirty and inhuman practices against women and girls, knowing full well that only training and education can effectively change human behavior. Also, most of the atrocious practices do not carry an all-encompassed consequences. So he's asking about what is the UN doing to step up training and education about gender emancipation across the globe, irrespective of the location? And also, are there any generally applied punitive laws against gender crimes which are effectively being enforced? I would also like to add here a question of Ahmad Yassin Ali, who is asking that how we can tackle racism among women. So, any of the resource persons that can reflect on this UN's participation on training and education and anything about generally applied punitive laws along with racism for women that are effectively being enforced.
Can I
Well,
make a point, please?
Yes,
Punitive
Dr. Nama.
laws cannot be applied when cases are not reported. Cases must be reported, evidence shown that something has happened before punitive laws can be applied. So unless the women are educated enough, there's enough awareness to let them know that they have to speak out. If not, we'll still be where we are. Women's education, there's a lot of progress, but what we are saying is that it is not enough. We still need more. More still needs to be done, at least to have more women representing their gender in different spheres. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Any other resource person who would like to add anything on this?
well, if I may, I have mentioned that in the digital world we're living now, it's very important that we notice what are the risks of using the artificial intelligence that's now widely spread because it's not very expensive. Governments, like in Europe, they have the European Act on AI trying to enforce equality, but that doesn't cover justice for women. So I mentioned that we have to be careful that the AI, which normally is built by training it on existing data, that existing data has biases. It learns all what's written, biases against women, etc. So it's important that we push the regulators to include in their regulation on AI the need for avoiding bias, including bias against women. That's on the AI side. On other sides, what others have used is blind audits, meaning if you want to recruit people for a position, it's important to start the filtering with a with blind CVs, meaning you don't know you just look at their qualifications, the competences. The same goes for any selection process. Even when you are deciding on an entrepreneur to work with, it's important that the first phase be made blind, meaning you are ensuring there is no bias in the selection process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your reflections on this. Now, I would like to take another question from Manjot Kaur. She is asking how can the issue of unpaid domestic labor of a woman in terms of family care, motherhood responsibility be addressed in present time? Also, I would like to add here a question from Vandita Sharma because that is a very related one. She's asking, isn't it important to sensitize boys and men to be more aware of how female psychology is inherently different as we are living in the age of AI but lacking fundamental understandings? So, any of the resource person, please reflect on this.
Uh, so, both the questions are interconnected. Unpaid domestic labor, that is, caregiving, motherhood, emotional support, remains one of the most invisible forms of economic contribution. So, globally, women perform nearly 3 times more unpaid care work than men. Yet, this labor is rarely measured in GDP or recognized in policy. So, to address this, we need three shifts. First, policy recognition, such as parental leave for both parents, flexible work structures, and social security for caregivers. Secondly, economic acknowledgement, valuing care work as productive contribution. And third, cultural redistribution, encouraging shared responsibility with families. This connects directly to Vandita's question. Sensitizing boys and men is not optional, it is foundational. Equality cannot advance if caregiving remains a female expectation. So, in the age of AI and technological progress, emotional intelligence and shared responsibility must evolve alongside innovation because empowerment is incomplete if burden remains unequal. So, equality at work begins with equality at home. Thank you.
Very well said, ma'am. Very well said. Any of the resource persons who would like to add on this?
I will add to what Navneet ma'am said, equality at home. So the atmosphere, the first school is your home. We parents are the best examples, and children learn more by observing rather than by making them sit and learn, making them mandatory to learn something, rather than we ourselves as parents become alive examples. Just by observing us, they learn a lot of things. So the responsibility of boys, making them aware of what is going on with girls, it all starts from home. How the father, brother, and all are at home, and what relation they maintained with the other halves of the family, that represents or that brings the best example for the children at home, be it a girl or a boy. That's all.
True.
Very true, ma'am. Next question is from Ms. Sunakshi Das. She is asking that in societies where cultural norms restrict women's reproductive choices, how can policymakers promote change while still respecting cultural sensitivities? This also brings her to a different question that while dealing with such situations, should culture always be prioritized or should we take a more pragmatic approach, especially when many cultural traditions historically tend to favor men over women?
Generally speaking, cultural biases develop over generations and become normalized as tradition. They influence how roles are assigned, whose voices are valued, and who gets access to opportunity. So, to address this, we first must acknowledge that culture is not static, it evolves with society. Education, representation, and open dialogue gradually reshape attitudes. For example, when communities begin to see women as judges, scientists, or policymakers, perception slowly shifts, visibility changes belief. So the goal is not to reject culture, but to redefine it so that it aligns with dignity, equality, and justice. because culture should guide process, not restrict potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very rightly said. Anyone who would like to add on this?
We'll
Okay,
take next question.
I'll take the next question. The next question is from Dr. Amadou Jacob. He's asking, in politics, how are women safe in politics where corruption has become the order of day?
Just repeat the second line.
In politics, how are women safe in politics where corruption has become the order of day? Bukola ma'am, would you like to reflect on that?
I don't know if women are safe in politics because corruption, I don't think corruption has anything to do with the gender. We've had cases of corrupt women politicians, just as we have cases of corrupt male politicians. So it has to do with the self. How do we want to behave when we are holding political offices? What kind of examples do we want to set? How do we want people to remember when we leave the political office and generations to come, they can refer to us as people who set good examples? Corruption may be happening around us, but we can choose not to be part of corruption. So I don't think this has to do with gender because it cuts across gender. But then, since we are talking about women, we are homemakers, we want to set examples, we can start wherever we find ourselves, simple positions, not even the big political offices. We start by setting good examples. One of the speakers said, you act what you want people to copy, or the young generation. When you act out some behaviors, you have some attributes that you are portraying, the young generation watching will want to copy those attributes. Thank you.
So I on corruption part, I agree with Bukola. But women's safety in politics cannot depend only on personal resilience. It must be ensured through institutional safeguards. First, strong legal framework against harassment and intimidation are essential. Many countries now have political codes of conduct and internal complaint mechanism to protect women leaders. Secondly, transparency reduces corruption related vulnerability. For example, in countries where digital governance and public financial disclosures are strong, women politicians report greater institutional protection. And the most important, collective representation matters. When women are present in larger numbers in political spaces, they are less isolated and more protected. So, safety in politics is not a woman's issue, it is a democracy issue. Corruption thrives in opacity, inclusion strengthens accountability. So, I'll conclude, when politics become transparent, it becomes safer for everyone, especially women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to add another question because from the politics, there comes in mind the office politics also. So how do women cater to office politics despite of those glass ceilings and sticky floors where connections and linkages has taken over the things rather than talent and hard work?
True.
Well, that's basically related to the management systems. If there is, it's not necessarily a gender issue. It's related to the management. If there is a performance management system, if there are clear deliverables to be achieved, then it's up to the talent and performance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other resource person who would like to reflect upon this?
So, what you said, office politics, glass ceilings, and sticky floors are real barriers. But the response cannot only be individual resilience, it must be systematic change. So, first, women must build strategic networks, not just work harder. I will say smart working is more important. Research shows that sponsorship and not just mentorship significantly increases women's advancement in leadership role. I'm talking this from my own perspective. Second, organizations must move from informal power structures to transparent performance metrics. For example, companies that implement structured promotion criteria and diversity audits reduce bias in advancement. So, women must support women. Collective advocacy weakens exclusionary networks. Talent should not compete with connections. Systems must ensure talent becomes the connection. So, hard work opens doors, but fair systems keep them open. Again and again, I will say transparency is really need of our. Thank you.
I'll add to this.
Yeah.
Transparency, I think we can translate it as communication.
Yes.
Miscommunication creates politics sometimes. As the head of the department, I feel this. There was a miscommunication, or there was lack of things being transferred from one mouth to another, or somewhere there was some gap, and it created a mess, and it converted to a dirty politics as well. So I think transparency is a must, and that is directly proportionate to communication. I think the more transparent communication is there, there is less politics. Uh,
I'll add to Dr. Shraddha being the head of the institutions because we face this every hour,
yes,
I believe. So
yes,
I have a policy. Whosoever will come to me, my doors are open. So nobody has to take any appointment. They come directly to me. So I give them space to pour their heart. I listen to them. I don't give any reflection on that. I only listen to them. I feel when they speak out any problem, anything which is, troubling them. So they are clean now. They have just given the things. But on my part, I'm not assessing anyone. I'm not reacting on that communication. I only listen to them, and I listen to the other story also. And I always keep a gap because gap, time is one thing which covers so many things. So I think better communication and understanding and a gap, it really solve the problems easily. So this is what we
yes.
all
Agree. That's a practical solution.
practical solution, truly. Because everybody is human beings. See,
Yes.
when somebody is coming, that means he had a pain and he is talking from his or her heart. We need to understand. We have to put our, feet in his shoes. We need
Yes.
to understand his level because everybody's level is also different. As experience grows, the more maturity comes. You understand the things from a different perspective. So it's better you listen to them. Don't give any reflection with gradual things, with communication, with counseling, you can always move to any conclusion and all the problems can be sorted down. I believe so. Thank you so much. We'll go to next question. We still have time. Last question, Dilpreet.
Okay, ma'am. We are actually flooded with so many questions in the chat box. So I would like to take a question from Vandita Sharma. She's asking that as we have already embarked into the era of AI, she would like to understand how this is going to disrupt the psychology of students as a whole, especially when the interface is substituting human interface. And also, the psychology studies should be mandatory, especially for boys and men, to understand women better, lest we lose to the technology.
Okay. So it is a thoughtful.
I think,
Yeah,
yes.
please, you add. I'll add later. Please.
No, I'm trying
Yeah.
to say that from we teach the young generation responsible use of technology. Yes, they are free to use their technological devices, but how responsibly? are they using these technological devices? So it still comes down to educating them on how, when, what exactly they can get, how useful is the information they are trying to access from technology. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Bukola. So AI can disrupt student psychology if it replaces human interaction rather than supporting it. For example, in many classrooms where AI tutoring tools are used heavily, teachers have observed this is more in higher education. In school, we don't give any privilege to students to use these tools. So, teachers have observed reduced peer discussion and lower collaborative skills. Students may become efficient in answering, but less skilled in listening, negotiating, or empathizing. So, another example is social media algorithms. They often reinforce biases and stereotypes. If young boys or girls consume content that normalizes toxic masculinity or objectifies women, AI can silently amplify harmful attitudes. That is why psychological education and gender sensitization must be integrated into curriculum. Countries like Finland already include emotional intelligence and media literacy as core competency in schooling. AI can enhance knowledge, but empathy must be intentionally taught because technology shapes behavior, but education shapes character. So even in India, in CBSE, inclusive education is mandate, and of course gender equality is the need for our we have to work with all the perspectives. If machines become smarter, human must becomes wiser. So this is what we need to navigate, we need to teach our kids. Thank you.
Well, if I may add, uh,
Please.
the challenge of technology, as you said, is that it's influencing what we think. Because if you see millions of people have a certain trend, you believe this is the right trend. So there is the risk of implying culture changes through the technology. Now, the challenge with artificial intelligence is that it's there's increased independence on it, and some people are warning that it seems Generation Z is having lower IQ than previous generations because of their dependence on AI. And as you said, the role of humans is changing from doing the minute work to orchestrating to analyzing. So it has its positive side, AI, but it needs to be well managed to avoid the negative sides like the drop in interest and IQ. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have really got so many of strategies, practical solutions, expert deliberations, and real life understandings on diverse perspectives related to women in this beautiful interactive session. I would like to request Dr. Navneet Kaur ma'am to give the final takeaway of this seminar so that I can proceed towards the official vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dilpreet. I must say, listening to our distinguished speakers today has been both enlightening and energizing. Each perspective, whether from policy, research, or lived experience, has added depth to our shared commitment towards gender justice. When voices from different contingents converge with such clarity and conviction, it reminds us that this movement is truly global. And I must appreciate all the people, all the participants who have questioned beautifully. Really, your questions me, in a class, it is so important nowadays how your students are questioning. That critical thinking is so important. We talk about 21st century skills. We are talking about competency based questions. And I think today's seminar is a true example of that. I'll conclude on this note. Today, we gather under a powerful theme: right, justice, action. But before policy, Before statistics, before declaration, there is a woman, a girl born into a world. Why I'm saying woman, let me add this also. In Indian philosophy, every human being has two perspectives. One is man, one is female, male and female. So right side is masculine energy, left side is female energy. So when I'm saying woman, it is for everyone. So there is a woman, a girl born into a world that says she's free, yet often ask her to prove her worth. She's told she's equal, yet measured differently. She is encouraged to dream, yet reminded of limits. And still she rises. She rises in classrooms where she studies twice as hard to be taken half as seriously. She rises in homes where she balances expectation with aspiration. She rises in boardrooms where her voice may tremble, but her conviction does not. She rises in silence when she chooses dignity over despair. But let us ask ourselves, why must she rise alone? Why must resilience be her constant companion? Why must courage be her daily requirement? Equality should not demand endurance. Justice should not require negotiation. Rights should not depend on permission. Somewhere in this world today, a young girl is whispering her dream, not loudly, not confidently, but carefully. Carefully, because she's unsure if the world is ready for her strength. That is why we are here to build systems where her dream is not whispered but welcomed, to create laws that protect not only on paper but in practice, to ensure that when she says, I want to lead, the world answers, step forward. Because when a woman rises, a family stabilizes. When a girl is educated, a nation strengthens. When justice becomes real, humanity evolves. This century must not be remembered only for innovation, but for inclusion. Not only for growth, but for fairness. Let today not be a celebration of endurance. Let it be the beginning of correction. Let it be the moment we decide that equality is not an aspiration, it is an obligation. And when she rises next, may she rise not against resistance, but with support, not fighting for space, but owning it, not asking for rights, but living them. Happy UN International Women's Day 2026. Let us act so that the next generation never has to ask for what should we have always been theirs. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very beautifully reflected and said, truly amazing. So now I would give my official vote of thanks. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest of honor, Dr. A. Arvad Abdul Daim, for gracing the occasion and sharing his valuable presence with us. My sincere appreciation goes to our eminent keynote speakers, Dr. Bukola Hemi and Dr. Shraddha Verma, for their insightful thoughts and inspiring perspectives that truly enriched today's discussion. I would also like to express my deepest gratitude to the visionary leadership of Dr. Sandeep Sihag, President ICRT, and Dr. Navneet Kaur, Executive Director of ICRT, whose dedication and guidance has continuously strengthened this remarkable platform. Without you, it would not have been possible, ma'am. Our sincere thanks goes to Dr. Aruna Anchal, Executive Director, Publication Division, Dr. Simran, Executive Director, Finance, and Dr. Saima Parvez, Executive Director, PR, along with all the core committee members whose tireless efforts made this convention a great success. As we celebrate today's themes, right, justice, and action for all women and girls, let us remember that powerful words of Malala Yousafzai: we cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. And yes, Michelle Obama beautifully said that there is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. Even sky is not the limit for us. And yes, women are breaking barriers today They are breaking barriers with networking. They are breaking barriers with mentorship, with education, with entrepreneurship, with female solidarity, all with the collaboration. And yes, we have started up creating our mark. May the ideas shared today continue to inspire action, promote equality, and empower women and girls across the globe. And let us not just leave it for today. Every day is Women's Day if we feel so. So, thank you everyone for making the deliberations so interactive and being part of this wonderful initiative by ICRT. Thank you so much.